The feeling of being ghosted is one of the worst feelings out there if you've ever been on the receiving end of it. And the act of ghosting, the belief that we don't owe people anything, this whole narrative has become so normalized in our generation, and people also use ghosting as a means of self-care. I have so much to talk about ghosting. Is it ever okay to ghost? What does ghosting say about you, whether you're on the receiving end or whether you're the person doing it? Does it mean you have a low emotional intelligence? What does ghosting actually say about you or the people around you? I want to make this video to help you discern when it is okay to ghost and when it is not okay, and you using it as a blanket, as a statement of self-care, can be actually quite detrimental to you and your sense of community. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Maryam, and on my channel we talk about all things girlhood, that's self-love, how to become the best version of yourself, and also a bit of fashion and lifestyle. So technically all things girlhood. If you aren't subscribed already, now would be a great time to subscribe and support my channel, and also give this video a thumbs up if you do enjoy. Ghosting in friendships or potential friendships. Look, when it comes to making new friends, when you see the first sign that the other party, the other person is very comfortable with ghosting, that should be a major red flag for you. Because do you really want a friendship where the other person is so okay and so casual with disrespecting you, disrespecting your time, disrespecting your friendship? Is that really the kind of energy you want to attract in your life?
Pretty sure the answer to that is no.
So let me explain to you what exactly I am talking about. This scenario over here, it's for example, when you start to become friends with someone, or when you start to become friendly with someone, say you message them on Thursday asking, hey, do you want to hang out on Friday or Saturday? And they respond to you on Friday and they're like, oh, let me get back to you. But then they never get back to you. And then they never even acknowledge the fact that they never got back to you. They ghosted you, and it didn't even register in their brains that they never even got back to you. They don't even bring it up. They don't even acknowledge it. I mean, here's the thing. It's totally normal to be busy, but what's not normal is to not have the ability or not have the common sense to actually let the other person know that you cannot get back to them or you cannot hang out, etc., etc. What's really hard to understand is how people cannot get themselves to communicate something that will literally only take 1 or 2 seconds. And now, this is what I want you to think. Do you really want to attract people into your life who normalize ghosting to a point where they don't even see it as something worth bringing up? Because here's something that happens to a lot of us, and it's also happened to me. For example, it's happened to me where I'm messaging back and forth with a girlie or a friend. We're messaging back and forth, we're planning to meet up, and we basically get to a point where we're 2 days before the planned meetup day, and the day before she stops responding. Literally goes ghost. I do not double text when it comes to a day that we're meant to meet, because for me it's like you either know or you don't. You either value it or you don't. And yes, it's totally normal to have something come up in your life, but for me the issue was the lack of acknowledgement. She never acknowledged that she never got back to me. She never acknowledged that she left me hanging. And then 6 months later she messages me, she's like, Girlie, we should definitely meet up. And I'm like, do you not read the previous messages where like you literally ghosted me? If you do value communication, you should be very careful when you see the signs that someone is totally okay with ghosting. This is how I operate. If you do not see it as an issue, if you cannot acknowledge your behavior as an issue of ghosting, of disrespecting another person's time, I am not going to explain that behavior to you. I'm not going to tell you what you're doing is wrong, because you should be old enough to know that. And now this is how I deal with girlies that I'm not really close with. If it's a close friend and if they're acting out of character, I will bring it up. But if it's a girlie I'm getting to know, I don't want to impose my values on her from the get-go, because I want her to have it from the get-go. I'm not trying to mold and bend and twist someone to meet me, to match me. When it comes to making new friends, when you notice that they have the tendency to ghost and they don't even acknowledge what they did and they don't even acknowledge it as a bad thing, that's when you know. Because if you value communication, if you value honesty, respect, all these things in relationships, you should be really concerned. So we've got 3 tiers of friendship. We have our homegirls, our besties. These are our close-knit, maybe 2 to 3 girls or 1 to 2 girls that you literally share everything with. They're your best friends. And then you have your second tier, which are girls that you're really friendly with. They're not bestie level, but you're still good friends with them. And then we have our third tier. There are girls that you vibe with, you like them, you love hanging out with them, but they're not as close to you. Like, you don't see them as much. And now your values, what you value in relationships, attitude should apply to all 3 tiers. It's not that, oh, they're not as close to me, so I don't mind it if they ghost me every now and then. No. Your values are non-negotiable in friendships. When you tolerate ghosting, when you tolerate all these, negative actions from your friends, you are subconsciously telling yourself that you are disposable and you're not valuable and you can be disrespected and it's not an issue. That is not the message you should be sending yourself about yourself. You should be telling yourself that I'm always going to look out for you. I'm always going to make sure no one's disrespecting you. I'm always going to ensure I'm only keeping the right kinds of people around me because energy is so important. So if or when you do find yourself in a situation where your friend has ghosted you and they haven't even acknowledged it to you, maybe they get back to you after 3 or 4 days and they're like, oh, sorry, I never got back to you, I just got super busy. That's a good opportunity for you to be like, I totally appreciate it and I totally understand how life can just get crazy for all of us, but like, let me know when you can, because I appreciate knowing what I can do with my time that I've allotted for myself, because everyone's time is valuable. You want to know that you're in a friendship where people also value your time. But if your friend is like, oh, you know me sometimes, you know how I get, I'm like this sometimes, that can sound cute on their surface level, but when you are an adult, when you are a grown-up, you cannot really live like that anymore, because you should have the ability to communicate. It's not that hard to just be like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to make it, and that's it. That's literally it. And now let's quickly touch on ghosting in romantic relationships or in a romantic setting. And now this one can be a tricky one because I don't do the whole no labels and you're a couple kind of thing. That to me is like a gray area, and I don't understand the reasoning or why you'd want to have a gray area with someone whom you fully like or whom you're fully sure of. But I bring that up to say that it's either you are in a relationship with someone or you're not. You can't be in the middle. You know what I mean? So when you aren't in a relationship with someone, yes, you don't owe them your full, time, your full being, your full energy, etc., etc. You don't owe that. But if you are interested in someone, if you actually are putting in the effort to get to know someone, it's okay to communicate and be like, hey, I'm actually going to be quite busy today, or I'm actually going to be quite busy for the next 2 weeks. So if I'm a bit slow in responding, that's why. And that's all it takes. That's not you doing the most. That's actually you communicating to the other person that this is one of my values. Communication is one of my values. I don't like ghosting. I don't like to be that person, so I'm just gonna let you know from now. And when you do that, you're putting it out into the world, the kind of person you are. Through doing that, you can attract those kinds of people too, because someone else who also values communication is gonna see that and be like, yes, tick, I value that. I can totally get along with this person. The first reason is due to diminished social accountability. This basically is the idea that it's become so normalized to ghost that there is just a lack of accountability, and so ghosting just feels like the easiest thing to do. The second one is emotional unavailability. We can talk a lot about a person that is emotionally unavailable and why they are the way they are and why they do the things they do, but in the context of ghosting, an emotionally unavailable person will just ghost because that is the easiest exit for them. They don't have to be emotional or get into their feels and say whatever it is they have to say, because those things just make them really uncomfortable. They would much rather just ghost and move on, because to them that's the easiest exit. To them, instead of leaning into vulnerability, why they feel the way they do, why they're not really into this anymore, they just find it much easier to just ghost. And the third reason is emotionally immature. It's when people are just emotionally immature. They don't comprehend how their own actions can cause another person discomfort. They are like the opposite of an empath. They don't practice empathy. They're just apathetic. They practice apathy. And I will say one thing, be grateful. Be super grateful that you cannot comprehend or understand why these people act in the way they do, because you're blessed with empathy. You're blessed with empathy if you fully cannot comprehend why another person cannot take into account another person's feelings. Because there are generally people out there who just don't care. Another reason is being conflict avoidant, or just someone who is scared or uncomfortable with confrontation. And now I get it. Confrontation is a difficult place to be. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of emotion. But if that's going to outweigh your value or how much you value a relationship, well then there you go. That's the reality you'll have to live with. And another reason why people ghost is because of control. This one is quite interesting because essentially they reject the situation or the person before they can be rejected, so they just ghost. They reject the situation by ghosting so that they're the ones who are protected. They're the ones who haven't been hurt. No one's ghosting them. No one's telling them off. They're the ones who did it first. That's what it is to some people. It's all about control. And another reason for ghosting in today's day and age is self-protection. This can be a case where it's sometimes okay to ghost when, say, you're dealing with someone super manipulative, someone super abusive. So to protect your own energy, you just resort to ghosting them. And here's when it can be okay. And the final reason why people ghost is they're just short-term oriented. They just view people as disposable. To them, it's literally about numbers. To them, it's like, there are so many people out there. Why should I care enough about one person? Just ghost and move on. That's literally how it works in their minds. We see this a lot in dating apps and the whole gamification of dating apps, because there is that illusion of choice. So you start to think that people are just disposable, and so you start to act in that way too. And now let's talk about excuses people give for ghosting that don't really work or that don't really make sense. The first one is, oh, I wouldn't really take offense to it. I don't really care if someone ghosts me, so why should they? So why are they so pressed? And now here it's about understanding what common human decency is. And say if you have a lower threshold, if you don't care as much, that doesn't mean that other people around you have to bend and twist to your own level. And you may be thinking, but why should I have to adjust to their level? Well, that's what emotional intelligence or emotional maturity is about. How your action is impacting someone else negatively, and then having that willingness to rectify it or make it better. It's okay if you don't care as much. If you don't care about being ghosted, that's fine. But if you're dealing with someone in a relationship or in a friendship who cares about it, you being emotionally intelligent would be you actually trying to rectify what you're doing, because you can see how your actions are impacting the person that you care about. The second excuse is something we've already sort of touched on. It's when you think we don't owe people anything. You do. You owe people common human decency. You owe people respect. You owe people these things. That's as simply as I can put it. And the third reason is, oh, I just have trauma. I'm just dealing with a lot of stuff right now. Oh, I just have this trauma from my childhood. I just like go back into my shell sometimes. Here's the thing. If you are old enough, if you are mature enough to understand the importance of trauma, of, emotional labor and how you're feeling on the inside, if you understand the weight that your childhood trauma carries, that means you're also old enough to understand that your actions can impact the people around you and that your trauma is your own responsibility. Your trauma is your own responsibility to fix, to amend, and to ensure it's not bleeding out into your relationship with your friends or your partner. Yes, you may have trauma, but what are you doing about it? Are you using it to make excuses? Because everyone has a bit of trauma in their life. But what differentiates an emotionally intelligent person from one who isn't is what they do about it. And now let's talk about when ghosting might actually be okay. You see, I've been that person that's been on the receiving end of ghosting. I've also been the person to ghost people in friendships when it's gotten to a point where it's gotten very toxic and I just feel like I'm the puppet in the relationship, where we're always communicating based off of your terms. It's always based off your terms. Everything is your terms. That's when it's okay to ghost. My self-respect is just being taken away from me whenever I communicate with this person, because this person always communicates on their terms. It's always about when they're available, when they're happy to do it, when they're there. It's always about them. I feel like I'm bending and twisting for them. So that's when ghosting is okay. It's when the other person does not even comprehend or see what they're doing, even if you communicate things to them. That's when you take your power back. That's when you exit from the situation. Because emotional intelligence is about also knowing your own needs. It's not only about being intelligent about everyone else's emotions, also about your own. So when you find yourself in situations where you start to feel like the puppet in that relationship, where they're the ones pulling the strings when you can talk to them, when you can't talk to them, that's when it's okay to pull away. What I want you to take away from this section of the video is to know how to discern. The ability to discern. Discernment is what you need to cultivate. When is it okay and when is it not? Another scenario where ghosting can be okay is when you're doing it out of self-protection, to protect your own energy. It's when you're literally dealing with a narcissist, an emotional abuser, or an abusive person. That's when you can actually disengage from the situation and ghost. Alright girlies, if there's one thing I want to close this video with, it's going to be the fact that it's actually cool to care. In this environment, in this generation where people act like it's cool not to care, it's cool to be emotionless, it's cool to not owe people anything, It's actually cool to care. It's cool to be sensitive. It's cool to be an empath. It's cool to actually care about yourself and the people around you. It's cool to communicate. And you removing yourself from situations, from friendships, from relationships that don't match your own values, that will get you one step closer to being around people, to being in rooms where people do value the same things you do. All right, girlies, I love you so much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
You were going